Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Yes, thanks, Linda. Good morning, councillors, good morning, officers, and welcome to our ordinary council meeting for the 24th of October 2023. Just give me a second while I start my iPad. I'd firstly like to begin with leave of absence and apologies. We don't have any leave of absence and apologies. I'll move straight on to acknowledgement of country and like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we meet today, the Darumba people, and pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Extend that respect to our neighbouring Aboriginal peoples within our local government area, the Gungaloo Nation people, the Barada, Cabelbarra and Yadamarala people. Also acknowledging the Torres Strait Islander peoples whose land are in the Torres Straits but who live and work on Aboriginal land. Councillors, we have a full house and Councillor Mathers is joining us online. The minutes from the previous, request for leave of absence from Councillor Drew Wickerson from the 6th to the 10th of November inclusive. I'm happy to move, seek a seconder. Seconded Deputy Mayor Councillor Fisher. We'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, councillors. Now we move on to item 4, the confirmation of the previous minutes that from the meeting held on the 10th of October be confirmed. Seek a mover. Move Councillor Smith. Seconded Councillor Wickerson. Put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried. Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Declarations of interest on matters on the agenda. Councillor Smith, I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I've got a conflict with 10.1, Council Discretionary Fund application for the Boulder Cone Progress Association. I've been a long-time member and I'll deal with the conflict by leaving the meeting. And also I've got a prescribed conflict of interest in item 11.5, whole of council performance report, because it mentions carting the water to Mount Morgan. Because my nephew Adam is a partner in MTC, who has the contract to cart water. My brother is a driver, and also now my other nephew is also employed to drive delivering the water. So I'll deal with that conflict by leaving the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Noted. Follow on with Councillor Latcham. Councillor Latcham.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I have a declarable conflict of interest in 12.2, notice of motion to rescind. Councillor Shane Latcham, Councillor Discretionary Fund. Scout Association of Queensland, Sione Park Scout Camp, as my daughter Jenna Latcham is a member of the Mount Archer Scouts Group, or Scouts Association, and this organisation is a member of Scouts Queensland. I'll deal with this conflict by leaving the meeting, including any area set aside for the public, and stay away while the eligible councillors discuss and vote on the matter.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Latcham. That's noted. Councillor, if there are any other conflicts that arise throughout the course of the meeting, please bring it to our attention. Okay, Councillor, no business outstanding, nil. Public forums, deputations, nil. Presentation petitions, nil. And committee reports, nil. We'll go straight into item 10.1 and discretionary fund application. Councillor Smith will leave the room. Will we work on that one? Thanks, Councillor Smith. Councillors, it's pretty straightforward funding application there for the Boulder Cone Progress Association. Move Deputy Mayor Councillor Fisher, seconded Councillor Kirkland. Any questions? If not, I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Can we invite Councillor Smith back to the meeting, please? Another one. Thanks, Councillor Smith. Thank you, Alicia. Council, we'll move on to our officers' reports with the 11.1 development application 99.19, request for a minor change to development permit for material change of, for the interior change of use for the short-term accommodation and relocatable home. Thank you, Amanda.
Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. Today we've got a minor change to a material change of use for short-term accommodation and relocatable home park. The site is already about approximately 50% developed. They're just making some small changes to the final few stages of the development. It's located there on Yerba Road, and here's outlined the changes. So I'll see if I can use that pointer. But yeah, basically that the the site from 18 to 29, instead of being relocatable home park, it's changing to motel units. So we've assessed it against the provisions at the time that were applicable, and the density rates are consistent, and therefore we recommend it for approval.
Okay, thanks very much, Amanda. Councillors, any questions to that report? Pretty straightforward. Again, it's something there that probably, definitely a need for at the moment. So, it's great to see that coming through. So, Councillor, if there are no further questions, could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Mathers, did you wish to move? Move, Councillor Mathers. Seconded, Councillor Smith. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Amanda. Move on to 11.2, the Fleet Vehicle Greenhouse Gas Emissions Reduction Policy Review. And I'll ask Megan to present that report for us, please. Morning.
Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. The purpose of this report is to provide an updated copy of a reviewed fleet vehicle greenhouse gas emissions reduction policy. We have, as part of this review, taken into consideration several changes that have occurred within the state and federal policy landscape since this policy was last reviewed. These changes include the release of the National Electric Vehicle Strategy and Queensland's Zero Emissions Strategy and Action Plan. This policy has been reviewed to ensure alignment with this rapidly evolving landscape and our commitment to improve our environment and sustainability performance across our operations. So a number of key changes have been summarised within the report, just including updating the purpose of the policy to have an overall framework for the acquisition of passenger and light vehicles to support our operations in an environment and socially responsible manner, prioritising the purchase of zero emissions vehicles where they are fit for purpose, acknowledging the potential of procuring vehicles that may become stranded assets, inclusion of managers' responsibilities in relation to the policy, and renaming the policy to a fleet acquisitions policy. It's a hope that these changes will assist with positioning council to ensure a smooth transition of our fleet in accordance with emerging supply and infrastructure availability that will continue to take place in the coming years. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just the acknowledging the potential of procuring vehicles that may become stranded assets, that's a very open-ended statement. I guess what do you mean and what's the risk there for council?
Thank you, Councillor. So through the Chair, it's just in relation to the length of time that we hold our vehicles. So typically our passenger vehicles, they're retained for 7 years before they're renewed. So it's just with this rapidly evolving space that, you know, if in another 2 to 3 years' time we're still purchasing vehicles in this matter, it may become more difficult to sell them, or it may mean that we're losing money on those assets because of the reduction in, I suppose, those types of vehicles in the market.
And there's always scope to review the policy at any point in time if there is a drastic change in the market as well.
That's correct.
But it's important not to leave assets stranded if we've got the policy there that's forcing us to continue to keep purchasing.
Mr
petrol
Mayor,
vehicles.
and that's, I think it's just one of those things we'll need to keep a very close eye on, because, you know, we certainly not in the financial position to have vehicles, just sitting doing nothing. So while the policy itself is really good, I think there's a fine line between best practice and what we can do in practice. Yeah.
I think that comes across the whole of the council organisation. Council, I don't believe we should be, swinging the pendulum too far to look at the whole organisation with transitioning, and how we can do that as in a measured approach. Needs to be reviewed, and that'll be a continual work in progress as that occurs. But yeah, no, good point. Thank you, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Smith.
Just want to ask. So I was a bit confused as to whether you're looking at the whole fleet going over to fully electric, including councillors' vehicles. It's just that I'm very nervous about even driving a hybrid now after so many lithium battery fires. And I just wondered, are we putting people in that risk until they develop better batteries? And also the cost of replacing those batteries is about $24,000 to $25,000 at the minimum, and I just wondered, is that really economical?
I think as time changes, and there will be that progression where there is a cost position, I think that will change in time as technologies improve and changes come on board. I don't think we jump straight to that, as Councillor Rutherford mentioned, jump straight into that position. I think it's a slow transition, but as you work through that, I was only talking with a gentleman the other night, and he said that he just come back from a trip from China, and their number plates are green if it's an EV, and he said it was trying to pick another one, look at the number plate that wasn't green. They were just all EV vehicles. So I think there's we'll see that transition slowly start to come across, but how that cost factor is balanced as you make that transition needs to be worked on. So I don't think it's just this is the policy and that's it. I think we've got to work to it, make sure that we're fully cognizant of the risks involved. Like you mentioned, if there are potential hazards or anything there, that we need to be fully briefed on that as that occurs. If that was answering the question, Councillor?
I'm still not convinced that we should go.
No, well, did you have anything?
Through the Chair, if I could just add to that, I suppose I don't foresee any immediate changes with the purchasing of the vehicles we currently have in the fleet. The amendments to this policy, though, hope to give us assist with the direction that we want to go in terms of the state and federal landscapes and the continued growth of that EV market. So it's not mandatory for us. There are a number of criteria in there, including fit for purpose, available budget. There's got to be available charging infrastructure. So there are a number of criteria before we reach that threshold. So.
Yep. Thank you. That covered a lot more technical than what I'd said, but same type of principle. But thank you. Councillor Kirkland, and then Councillor Wickerson, and Councillor Fisher.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. And thanks, Megan. There is a great deal of comfort in the way that those criteria have been entered into this policy. It gives a little bit of reassurance to not only the organisation but also the general public and the ratepayers that is going to be a fiscally responsible decision. Can I just ask the question, is the delegation to make those decisions around the risks that have already been outlined by my colleagues this morning, but also the fiscal side of things, does that go to the CEO each time, or is it to the managers? Just to be clear, it says manager here, but there was a mention of CEO has the ultimate.
Depending where they go, yes, it's generally goes to the managers, and then certain other requests come up to Ross or myself. So, yeah.
Okay, so is there any scope in there for larger purchases to come back to, will it go to you? What's the cut-off as to where it goes to the CEO?
And what size plant? You're talking about fleet or plant?
Fleet and, will a lot of the plant, will the plant be transitioning as well? Sorry, through you, Mr Chair.
And I think that's part of this whole policy as we work our way through it, and there's involvement of some of the bigger, larger equipment. This will be picked up as well. At this stage, they're not really readily available, and fiscally, they're not there.
Not an option.
No. And so we're not jumping boots and all into it. So it's a cautious, open mind with caution.
Yeah, so through the Chair, the scope of this policy at the moment only applies to passenger and light commercial vehicles like our utes. It hasn't gone as far as planned yet because, that's still probably quite early in the market. And just to clarify, the reference to the CEO within the policy is just in relation to if you're seeking approval for something that's outside of the scope. So it's just a business case to the CEO. Otherwise, it goes through to the manager for approval.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for the clarification on that. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Fisher, then Councillor Wickerson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I believe that we're going too fast in this space, and I think this is another part of, Queensland is really almost in two places. The urban, heavily urban areas, the southeast corner, and then the regional areas. And my reasoning for that is the infrastructure and also the development of these vehicles hasn't caught up with the distances that we have. And with every good in EVs, there's also the bad. And I know that councils in central and north Queensland there have been dealing with increases of landfill fires, increases of garbage collection vehicles, fires that are from lithium batteries and that. You can't blame electric vehicles just for that, but I believe that at the moment there is still a long way to go with the development. It'll come, but even though what Megan has put is a very good report, I still think we're at a point there where we need to allow the development, the evolution of these vehicles and the evolution of these batteries to come up with the needs of regional and remote Queensland. And for that, I'm still believe that while we're acknowledging, we're putting in the report and the planning, I think even the goals in this are really putting quite an onus on our budget and things as well.
Is it a debate, Councillor, or are you asking a question?
I'm probably
speaking against it.
I'm probably speaking against it, Mr Mayor. Good pickup. But I'll leave it at that.
Yep. Questions, Councillor Wickerson?
Mine might be a bit debatey too, Mayor, so
I'll hold fire. Okay. Righto, can I have a mover and seconder with regards to the policy? Move, Councillor Wickerson. I'm happy to second. Well, I'll speak for it, and I believe the policy is prudent and one that we need to be mindful of as this is occurring around us, not to stick our heads in the sand, so to speak, and let that happen to the side, but to be cautious and mindful that there is still a lot of work to progress, and as technologies change into the future, we need to be abreast of that as that's happening. So I believe the policy allows that flexibility, and one there that we can work towards as we see that transition. And talking about hydrogen and what's happening in other spaces as well, I'm sure there's the technology will move in different directions as we go along. But just to be mindful, we're seeing the cost of fuel escalating, and how that will have pressure on that transition, and the reduction in the carbon footprint is something there we all need to be aware of, and this policy allows that to progress and work with that transition. Speakers against? Councillor Fisher.
Okay, thank you, Mr Mayor. And look, a lot of what you said I agree with, but I think, again, there is a downside, and we're feeling it in Rockhampton, we're feeling regional councils with the increase in lithium battery fires within our landfills, within our garbage collection vehicles. And I think we need to allow the technology to actually develop and let the development of the batteries and hydrogen batteries, which I think is going to be much better than the lithium batteries. But at this stage, it's not just the vehicles, but it's actually the cost to the ratepayers in other areas. So for that, I'm not going to support this today. I believe that if we're all back in March next year, I think 2025, we have the updated policy. I believe that that is when we'll start seeing some changes. But it is at the moment where we're moving faster than the actual technology is developing. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Fisher. Speaker 4, Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I understand the concerns around it because it is a rapidly changing technology. I think some of these fires in collection bins and at the landfill probably aren't electric vehicles. They're probably from phones that we all happily use, and lithium batteries in drills. It's been a while since I plugged a drill in or used a rotary phone. Also, technology is changing. But I think if we wait till we're forced to do it with national legislative changes or worldwide we're going to be paying big money to play catch up. We don't want to go too fast, that's for sure, but we've got to at least keep pace with what everyone else is doing. I was pleased to see in the report that it was fit for purpose. Obviously, even council vehicles, if we're travelling long miles out to the rural sector where there's no charging stations, well, that's not fit for purpose. We've got to have something alternative to that. I think going back to when vehicles first came out, and funny enough, the first vehicle was an electric vehicle way back in 1902 or something or other. But even with Model T Fords, you couldn't go too far without carrying petrol with you because they just didn't have petrol stations all the way. We've got to start somewhere, and the day that we can either be charged from the road as we drive along or through the air or better batteries or whatever will come. But we're back in the Model T Fords just about now. But you've got to jump on the train somewhere. With the fleet part of it, and I understand fleet is more the day-to-day vehicles, who'd imagine that something like a big D11 dozer or a big dump truck in the mines would be batteries, but they're working on that right now, and plus autonomous vehicles too. Like, that's science fiction stuff that quite rapidly is changing, so whatever the next 10 or 20 years comes, you couldn't even dream it. So I think we've got to jump on the train somewhere and embrace it. Obviously, with the fears and the concerns around it, very real fears, encapsulated in that discussion. But we just got to jump on and be part of it, not be forced to do it in time to come.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Wickerson. Another speaker against, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I totally agree with Councillor Fisher that it is moving very fast. Same as we're suddenly saying, wind farms and solar farms are moving too fast too. Following everybody else in the world. I don't believe we're going to have enough charging stations. I know new service stations, I think, have a couple of stations, but all the old service stations, I haven't seen any installed, and I think that's going to be a problem. And also, I think until they make the lithium batteries better, and I don't think that's going to happen very soon because they've probably made millions of them. And until it causes a death or a tragedy, I think they're not going to be improved. So I'm just really reluctant to go that way with fully electric vehicles.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Smith. Speaker 4, Councillor Rutherford.
Mr Mayor, this policy doesn't say that we're going to go out tomorrow and change all our vehicles over. What it says is that we're going to start to walk down a path that acknowledges that we need to look at the alternative vehicles that are around. So I don't think we need to be afraid of what's written here. We still have full control over what happens. There is clauses right the way through that talks about as fit for purpose or the like. So, I think this just sets us, it's the first step on the journey really to, and we've already started that process, with some electric vehicles, some hybrid vehicles. So it's, you know, it will be a slow, steady as you go approach. So, you know, I think this is just fine.
Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. Any further speakers against? If not, I think we've gone around enough. I don't really need to close debate on that one, so I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those opposed? Do you wish to record your comment? Councillor Fisher and Councillor Smith wish to record their votes against the motion, and the motion is carried. Thank you, councillors.
Mr Mayor, may I just make a comment? Just would like to thank Megan for the report.
No, well. That's fine. Yes,
and that there wasn't anything in the report. I think it was a very balanced report.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, councillors, we'll move on to our next item, which is the approval for international travel retrospectively, I believe. Thanks very much, Damon.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Good morning, Mayor and councillors. The report before you this morning is seeking retrospective approval from Council in relation to international travel and associated expenses incurred relating to a recruitment interview that was undertaken recently for a position at FRW. The circumstances relating to the travel and the unfortunate non-compliance with Council's policy and procedure on this particular occasion as outlined in the report. Ultimately, there was a misunderstanding in relation to the approval process across a number of different levels as it made its way through the process, which unfortunately was missed, including by myself. So I take responsibility and apologise to the table for that omission on this occasion. I can confirm that the candidate for which the travel related to was ultimately the preferred candidate, as noted in the report, has been made an offer of employment and has verbally approved or accepted that offer. We're just pending receipt of a signed contract with employment due to commence before the end of this year. While never like to give guarantees to the table where there's ultimately human interaction involved, can confirm though that we have introduced a number of processes internally to minimise at least the likelihood of a future reoccurrence of non-compliance. So happy to take any questions though, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thanks very much, Damon. I think that's a good explanation of the report, and one there we just probably does highlight a separate matter though, that we're having to get those living regionally. We suffer with the the skills shortage, and having to look internationally to fill those positions. It's probably not a position we'd prefer to be in, but unfortunately it's one of the nature of the time. So that said, that's separate to this report, but I believe that and I'm happy to move. I'll speak in favour of the motion. Seek a second, Councillor Wickerson. You've explained the situation, and there's a way to remedy that in the future, so it doesn't happen in the future against the policy with that international travel. So I've spoke for. Anyone wish to speak against? If not, no questions to Damon. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. Thanks very much for that,
Thank
Damon.
you.
And hopefully we do have success with that position being filled. We'll move on to Marnie's report, 11.4, the summary budget management report for the period ending the 30th of September 2023. Moving on quite rapidly, the financial year.
Yes, it is. So, good morning, everyone. Yes, that's right. We're a quarter of the way already through the year in terms of where we came from. Things are looking relatively well in accordance with the budget. So 25% of the year already gone. As council's aware, we've levied the rates for the first half year, and that is therefore providing that 40% of operating revenue being within the adopted budget. That's causing that result. I will add, councillors, that our arrears of rates as at the end of September were around the 4.14%, which is within reason of where we were last year. It is slightly more in terms of dollar terms, however. It's about $400,000 difference between the end of September last year and what we haven't recovered at the end of September this year. But looking at prior years before that, we were actually close to $1 million less than where we were in 21-22 at the same time. So it is relatively within our targets for our uncollected rates at that time of the year. In terms of other operating revenue, private and recoverable works are at 29% of budget. Grants and subsidies are lower at 21%. You know, the timing of collecting the reimbursement from the state for Mount Morgan water carting doesn't actually occur until December, so that distorts our operating revenue in that space. Operating expenditure is at 23% of the budget, so under budget at this stage. Contractors and consultants 19%, asset operational expenses 18%, and admin expenses at 19%. Generally everything is within the proximity of the budget. We currently have a budget review for October out with the staff, so that's being reviewed presently in relation to our operating and capital budgets. That will close next week, and then we will bring a report to council at the end of November. In terms of our capital budget, capital income is quite low at 13% of the carryover budget. However, capital expenditure is also on a similar path at 12%. We expect that when some of those larger projects ramp up, such as the Mount Morgan pipeline and those sorts of things, we will see some uplift in those expenditure amounts for capital. Our investments are sitting at just under 98 million, and our loans were at 126.2 million. Otherwise, I would recommend that the report be received unless there are questions from the table.
Councillors, any questions, Marnie, in that report? If not, everything is tracking well, and again, we're able to take questions outside of this report if there is anything there that needs to be addressed. But at this point in time, I'm comfortable with the position that the council's at with this report. So that said, I'm happy to move. Seek a seconder, Deputy Mayor Councillor Fisher. If there's no further questions to Marnie, I'll put them both. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thanks very much, Marnie, for that report. Move on to our next item, item 11.5, the whole of council corporate report.
Need to leave only if we...
Yeah.
A whole report?
Thanks, Councillor Smith. And we'll hand over to Ross. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We have the corporate performance report there for the month of September. We do have a session booked for this afternoon for the more detail. If
in the briefing session, yes, that's right. Councillors, was there anything there that needed to be addressed? If not, we can discuss that at that briefing session. So I'm happy to move. Seek a seconder. Deputy Mayor Councillor Fisher. I'll put that. Those in favour. Those opposed. Motion's carried unanimously. Invite Councillor Smith back to the room. Thank you very much.
Mr Mayor, I've realised as well in 11.6, that's the operational plan, on page 34 of 48, it talks about Fitzroy Water, the Mount Morgan Water Security Project and grant funding for that, so...
CEO.
That part, I believe, Damon and Peter, is just talking about the pipeline project, not the carting part of the project. Is that correct? Yeah.
Councillor Smith, it's your call if you feel uncomfortable. Yeah, make that call if you feel happy to step out, and we'll record it as a conflict.
Yeah. Could I just, will I do that just when we're talking about the water, or are we talking about each different section today?
No, we're not talking about each...
Oh, it's the whole thing. Yeah, I'll step out, thanks.
Okay.
So, sorry, just for the record, Councillor Smith...
Councillor Smith, before you go, we'll just record the detail.
We need the reasons why, and I think it is the same reason as prior,
yeah.
So yes. Yeah.
With the family relationship with the Mount Morgan Water Pipeline project. Councillor Kirkman, question?
Mr Mayor, may I ask a question? Just because it is the corporate plan, which is a governance plan similar to budgeting, does it not because that means that Councillor Smith won't be able to participate in any of the corporate planning.
No, it's not like the budget meetings and the budget development where you don't have that, you've got an exemption for it. The reporting doesn't have that sitting within it.
Right.
The only way we could deal with it is if the council, when they move that, exclude portions of it, which makes it quite difficult because then it becomes a bit piecemeal because you are talking about the one big thing. So,
Through you, Mr. Chair, then the question is, in the future then, if removing it is laboursome and difficult to do, Councillor Smith not be able to participate in any of the corporate
that's
planning?
potentially correct, yes.
Because we've now made this ruling here today that will exist for all of
That,
the...
we've done this one here, we've actually excluded, sorry, Councillor Smith has excluded herself previously by having an item within the resolution that says excluding the discussion around the Mount Morgan water carting.
Yeah.
So the council, we could have moved that previously to actually exclude that from the discussion or to exclude that from that resolution and dealt with that part separately. So we could have gone whatever the number is, so we could exclude item da-da-da-da-da, so I think the under regional water, no, it's under, I think what number it is. We could exclude that item, that would be in the resolution. Councillor Smith could stay for the remaining part of the discussion and then leave for that small portion and do it that way. But she just excluded herself, so I'll correct it afterwards.
Okay, we can work on that. Thanks very much. Damon?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In Alyssa's absence this morning, I'm pleased to present the Q1 progress report for Council's 2023-2024 operational plan. The first attachment to the report is the progress report, providing those summaries in relation to those key themes out of Council's corporate plan, and also that traffic light report in relation to the specific adopted targets by Council, and provides details on progress there throughout Q1. We do also have attached in that quarterly report the performance plans for the Council's 3 commercial business units as well. Attachment 2 to the report provides details of proposed amendments seeking Council's endorsement today in relation to 11 separate targets that are contained in the operational plan that were due to some changes from when the plan was originally adopted. The GMs no doubt will speak to that or any of those as councillors may have any questions during their summaries of the relevant departments. And to begin with, I'll invite Alicia to come forward and give a summary on behalf of Community Services. Thanks, Alicia.
Morning, Alicia.
Good morning, councillors. It's once again my privilege to highlight the good work of the Communities Department over the past quarter. In the Directorate space, the Community Assistance Program Round 1 applications closed early July and 15 applications received for regional events, local events and the environmental sustainability grants. A further 7 applications have been processed now under the Community Development Grant. So that's like the $2,000 and $1,000 grants since the beginning of the new financial year. So a reminder that the call for groups wanting to hold local Australia Day events is also now open. In the planning and reg portfolio, so this area is always operational, so there's always very few highlights. However, in this quarter, we finalised the new stockyards at the Gracemere Animal Management Centre, which means we can now decommission the Mount Morgan yards, which have a number of problems up there. Our professionals have also been called upon to help out our colleagues within the CQ area, with our local laws officers assisting Banana, and our environmental officers helping out Central Highlands. This is not only a good neighbour thing to do, but also helps with the development of our own staff. And the trial of the number plate recognition system for regulated parking has been completed, and we're looking to implement this in the second quarter. In the Communities Cultural and Heritage portfolio, so we had Rockhampton Museum of Art also celebrated NAIDOC Week by hosting a corporate breakfast attended by 70 guests, hearing from 4 panellists on the theme of For Our Elders. They also held a Warrabinda fashion event on the 9th of September that was attended by over 150 people. In the libraries, the September round of First 5 Forever kits saw 111 kits distributed, 15 books per kit, meant 1,660 free books into the waiting rooms and receptions area of businesses, community groups or government medical agencies, all aimed at encouraging parents and guardians to share a book with their children while waiting for service. The showgrounds hosted the annual Capricorn and commencement of the Saloon Car Speedway season, as well as Rocky Swap in the quarter. And we've also well progressed the master planning for the showgrounds and Victoria Park area. We've had initial stakeholder engagement and site analysis completed, and we had our first workshop take place just earlier this month. So in the Parks, Sport and Recreation portfolio, I've already highlighted the good works of the Parks crew, and it was a great one-team effort, but it did happen in the quarter, so I'll go again. The Queensland Touch Football Junior State Cup, held in July with daily attendance numbers over 10,000, with 92% of these attendants being outside of the region visitors. So I think the success of this event is really serving as a catalyst to other sports and for events to be held here. So we've had the Confraternity Shields competition announced for Rockhampton for 2025, and we're also in discussions with Rowing Queensland about having their schools championships here for the next 2 years, which is great news. In relation to the Parks service standards, Parks continue to build the service data through our GIS Field app that will help guide further discussions and decision making. So we've got a briefing session booked, councillors, for December, where we'll drill into those things and findings a bit more. Throughout the quarter, we've also formulated and consulted with staff on the plan for the upcoming wet season, and I'm only hoping that wet season starts very soon. The Mount Morgan Pool redevelopment project is well underway, with the design finalised, site demolition completed, and the construction of the new pool shell in progress. This project is anticipated to be complete in the third quarter of this year. We've had the new Eagle enclosure completed, with Valkyrie moved in. We've had Salyards Park field lighting completed, which sees all the fields now fitted out with the LED light towers. And we've also had the Joyce Harding Park all-inclusive amenities that has been completed, which rounds out the upgrades for that park. In the sustainability portfolio, we've had the year in review report released, highlighting key achievements from last year. We've celebrated National Tree Day with providing plants to local residents, as well as the tree planting down at the Yeppen Lagoon. We've also continued the work with Capricornia Catchments and Multicultural Australia that supports local trainees to gain those skills, and we've had one cohort of trainees graduated in August, with the next one to kick off in Q2. We've also had a workshop with Dr. Amanda Carl to talk about, with the leadership team and council, around the transition in terms of the energy transition, I should say, and how we can position ourselves for the future with council and our community. So, talking with attachment 2 now, in terms of the changes to the operational plan for the community space, you should note that I've tidied up and consolidated 2 actions around the ILUA and traditional landowner engagement, as they were sort of partly duplicated. Given the uncertain nature of the claim of the Gungaloo Nation's people, I don't expect that we would develop an ILUA this year with them, so I've updated the words to that effect. So that's the end of my report, councillors. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much. Alicia, any of the portfolio councillors' comments on that one? Councillor Rutherford?
No, Mr Mayor, I did note, Bud, and Alicia, fantastic report, thank you, and it shows how busy everyone is.
And broad.
But a lot of that doesn't feature in this report as such,
No.
and given this report is our history, and it's what's documented, I would like to see some of that in the report, you know, certainly the park stuff and the new system and how that's working and how it's improved. So I think there are key things that are completely missed out of the report. You've obviously covered now verbally, but when I read this report, I felt there was a whole series of stuff that should have been in here that's not.
Alicia?
And if I could just respond to that, Mr Mayor. So all of the information has been in our monthly reports to Council. I guess I've taken liberty to highlight the good work of Communities people in this one opportunity, which I make you persevere with every quarter. And it is, like, there is so much more that I could have said, but they're just our key highlights. But it is already included in our monthly reports.
I understand that, Mr Mayor, and I've read that, you know, even in the last report, but, the
monthly report.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is our quarterly operational report that sort of sits with our corporate plan, and it is the document that people would look back on.
Yeah.
And I just think there are some key things that that should, and it's not just this. There'll be some in infrastructure as well, and things like that. Our core business things, you know, with our roads and our parks and the like. That I just think there should be some dot point that acknowledge them. Even the work, the massive amount of work that's done with our sporting clubs that never really features anywhere. So I guess that's the
I'll
comment.
throw to Damon for you fixing
Yeah,
that.
whether there's ways maybe to include attachments or something referring back to those other reports maybe, I'm not sure. We can take that on note there, Councillor, though, and see if there's ways we can include that in the
yes, thank you,
future
Mr
reporting.
Mayor. We'll
Damon?
certainly take that on board. Now invite Ross to provide a summary on behalf of Corporate Services.
Thank you,
Thanks,
thank you, Damon. So for corporate services, for the first quarter of the year, a couple of key things we've had. The lost time injuries, we targeted 35, they're sitting at 14, a little bit up, but we're still working through that. The customer calls was a busy period with water and dogs this period, but we did manage to do a very good effort by the team. They got there 80% with the target of 75%. Of course, you may remember the last couple of years we had a lot of but we had difficult, I suppose, reaching that target, but so the team have done well to get to that point. The other key one about suppliers paid within trading terms, that's an important one that we pride ourselves on. That's at 93%. So that is a really good achievement by the team. And we have our top 100, it's a big one also, is to have our top 100 suppliers under contract. So we have that at 99%, which is good. The budget, I won't go into anything further. Marnie has just delivered the report on the budget, so that shows where we're tracking on that. We've been well underway with in our workplace health and safety, our operational risk register. There's been a lot of work done around that the last quarter from across the whole organisation, so everyone's getting in and onto that. The benefits of that is determining as it says in the report, any inconsistencies in work processes and providing recommendations to operational areas to improve that risk management. So it's a bit of work there. Another big body of work going on is in our ICT area. There's pleasing progress made in that space, but there's so much more that can be done. So we're working through that. The big one at the moment we're working on is our intranet. That's just one of the big ones, intranet transformation. It's well out of date. And also we're starting to ramp up on our pathways system as well. There's a lot of work that can be done in there. As Marnie mentioned, the budget is under review. We're actually doing a formal review coming up, hopefully end of November. We'll have that one in front of you. The other one, we are seeking a change to one of the targets in the op plan. It's about the depot strategy. It's just as we've progressed the first quarter, just with the amount of work on and priorities, we just physically won't recommend it. We don't see we can get to that completion by the end of March. So we're seeking to have a bit more staged process and that to have the have it scoped up and tendered ready by the end of the financial year, ready to roll out next financial year. That's where we're recommending, and hopefully council will agree to that. My final area just to comment on, Mr Mayor, is the airport. At the high level, we've got budget at 25%, where our revenue is up and our expenditures down operationally, so that's a good sign either way. Passenger numbers are good. Our non-financial targets are all green at this stage of the year. though it's still early days. So I think Marcus is tagged for a couple of weeks to come and do his triennial update to council. I think that might be 2 or 3 weeks away, so it's scheduled to do that. So that will provide more insight into what's happening with the airport as well. So happy to take any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks for your report, Ross. Councillors, any questions for Ross on his update? If not, thanks very much, Ross. Dan?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Now ask Peter to come up and provide a summary for regional services. Thanks, Peter.
Morning, Peter.
Morning, Mayor, councillors. Okay, regional services. Overall, the first quarter has seen good progress in the capital. You heard Marnie talk about her expenditure. It is a big program. The projects will ramp up now. I think we've spent about 7 million out in the major project area already, but that obviously will increase very soon. There is an assessment being undertaken at the moment, and that is of FRW capital spend. So it's not the major projects, it's FRW themselves. We may have to reduce that capital program slightly, but you'll see that presented to you in the October budget review. So we're just going through that to make sure we're certain we can deliver it and get to that 95% target. On the major project front, Glenmore Water Treatment Plant is progressing well now. We are now working on 2 filters at a time, so the work is increased in production. We plan to have all the filters replaced by next March, but leading into this summer, it means we're going to have greater capacity to meet demands. And if you look at the whole of council report, you'll see demand for water usage is going up. North Rocky Sewage Treatment Plant has got to a major milestone where virtually all of the major works are completed, and we may plan to take you on an inspection between now and Christmas as a last opportunity to have a look at it before we start the commissioning phase. We've spent about 33 million there to date, and it is all on track and on schedule. Glenmore Water Treatment Solar Farm, I'll just mention that because it's been a long time coming, but it should be operating by March next year and connected to the network. Fingers crossed. Okay, it's been. The last one, 2 more to mention. Mount Morgan Water Treatment Plant, we've refurbished it. It's in the commissioning phase, and that will go on for some months, which is about testing it, operating it to see that we can actually produce drinking water. There's no urgency. Obviously, we're still carting, and you will see in the other report that the carting costs are going up, and that's because consumption's going up there. Mount Morgan Water Pipeline Project. I will inform we're still in the early works package. We're still doing that. All pipes have been procured and delivered to site, so that's completed. And we are finalising project timelines and funding agreements as we speak. So there's a pipeline coming.
Another one that's
Still a little bit of work behind the scenes. I will mention that there's been a completion of a draft asset management plan for buildings. First time this has been updated for some time. It's under internal review, so it'll be probably a few months before council sees it, but it's a very important plan to have up to date and functioning and providing that information to the whole of council. We've completed a sewer and water asset plans. Same thing, they've been internally reviewed, they're getting externally reviewed, and they'll be presented to council probably more like May next year. For FRW's performance plan, Q1 shows good performance. It hit all of its indicators bar 3. So there's 21 indicators, 3 of them they've missed. In terms of waste, it's delivered very strongly against its performance targets. It's met them all. It's on target for safety and operational targets, and you will see there has been some increase in income in that area due to basically, construction and industry-type waste coming to the landfill has been increasing because of activity, and that's boosted the income. Happy to take questions.
Questions, Councillor Kirkland?
Oh, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just in the indicators there, under the infrastructure, item 5.1.2.3, it's interesting. I'm not sure if that colouring is orange or pink, but it states watching. Just noting that there's a change here from the strategy target delivery of 31st of December 2023 to 30th of June 2024 for the long-term water supply for Rockhampton and Gracemere. Even though the commentary says that that it's well underway, the strategy is well underway, I'm just querying the extra 6 months needed to pull it together. Is that purely and simply because it takes that long for internal information to transfer through to get this particular strategy up?
It's not internal information. The delay is around this is it being undertaken by a consultancy,
right?
And it's to get, and there was a slow start to procure, but also when we've got the timetable and the resources they've got to do it, they won't meet that target.
Okay, so it's not negotiable, in other words. That's where
that's just it. And what's happened is we've inserted that date prior to us procuring the contract and setting up the project.
All right, that's fair enough. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Kirkland. Councillors, any further questions to Peter on his report? Councillor Kirkland?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I actually wrote down a late-minute question that I had there. Just in your commentary earlier, through you, Mr. Chair, to Peter, you mentioned the Mount Morgan Water Treatment Plant was going through that commissioning testing, and you said to see if it would be fit for drinking water. I was just a little concerned that it's had money spent on it to make it fit for drinking water. Is there any expectation that it won't be fit for drinking water?
To answer that, it's about the quality of the water in the dam. So the treatment plant is commissioned and fine. We've got to assess what the water quality is. So that's why I cast it to see about how much treatment, how much chemical do we need to get it to that quality. So the plant's fine. What's the condition of that water? We don't actually know a lot about.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just for clarity then, so if the water that's in the dam is considered to be so turbid or the condition of it negates the treatment plant actually being able to deliver drinkable water because of the actual amount of chemical and everything that's got to go into it, what will be the course of action from there? Okay, we're jumping right ahead. I'll go back. If you recall, when we were still using the dam water at 18% or 15%, there was lots of community complaints about the water, and it's the same thing. We couldn't get it up to even though it was a safe drinking water, so there's safe drinking water that doesn't cause you any harm, but there is taste in this, and that's what the issue was. So that's that. Going forward, I don't think I need to react to what happens if it doesn't happen. It's highly unlikely, and let's just wait and see. If the water cannot be treated, then we continue carting until the pipeline's built. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
But that's built into the project.
It is what it is.
That's the assumption. Yep.
And that hasn't changed from the start. Thanks, Peter. No further questions to Peter. Thanks, Ben. I think.
Through the chair, thank you. I was just about to say, finally, not least, in Angus's absence, I'm hopeful that Zach's available there online to provide an update to Council in relation to Advance Rockhampton. Zach?
Hand over to you, Zach.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, Mayor and Councillors. It's my pleasure to provide you our Q1 update in Angus's absence. He's a very special investment meeting today. So across quarter one, our Advanced Rockhampton team grew throughout the quarter. We had, following the implementation of the restructure that we had in August, and it brought together Council's Economic Development, Tourism and Events team, which was the original Advanced Rockhampton team, and added in the Strategic Planning and Community Master Planning team. So this now focuses Council's efforts towards growing the region and providing a great place to visit, live, work and do business and invest, aligning with Council's vision of one great region to live, visit and invest. From just some of those key stats from across the quarter, airport movement was up. Our region's residential vacancy rate is 0.9%, which by comparison is 0.8%. So it has increased by 0.1%. Our accommodation occupancy average is 84%. This is such an incredible number. So at the same time last year, so quarter one from last financial year, it was 82.3%. 84% accommodation occupancy, you are really full, and our region's flying. Then looking at the new lots created, we've got one there. Building applications lodged 493, and our unemployment rate is 4.1%. Now, if we deep dive into the economic development team, so we actively engage with the state government to, with their process to develop a Central Queensland Regional Transformation Strategy and an implementation plan in association with the Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan. Rukudwea, nearing completion. This is from Q1, just from today's point of view, it's almost done. And Advanced Rockhampton played an important role in supporting Sunwater's Landholder Support Program, and a big shout out to Wade Clark and his team there. And that the development of the region's aquaculture sector is a priority, and supporting that Making Water Work initiative remains a focus for us. And if we look at, just this week, we looked at our support for Beef Australia, and the agriculture industry is worth $400 million to our Rockhampton region per year. From a tourism and events point of view, so our team delivered two major events successfully in quarter one. So that's the Rockhampton River Festival and Capricorn. Pleased to be present and a part of both of those great events. And Capricorn, first time I've dressed up, and it was great to see all of the very passionate people go to that event. So we've also secured a Christmas-themed light show that will be held at the Botanic Gardens during quarter two. And the development, this is from Q1, development of our major events calendar progressed and was anticipated to launch and did launch this month. So that shows those 33 events that will bring people to our region, but also make it a great place to live for people to move here and live here. Now, the first quarter has seen the development and launch of 3 new tours within our Explore Rockhampton self-guided tour app. This is actually an op plan action. So we did 2 new tours with Darumbalong Country. We launched those in time with NAIDOC Week, and then we also, the third tour that we did was a Significant Trees of Rockhampton. And this was a really great partnership of one team approach with the Parks team. It showcases 17 significant trees around our region, and I encourage you, if you haven't already downloaded our Explore Rockhampton self-guided tour app, it's available through the Android and Apple Store, and it's free. There's about 12 different tours you can do. Now, from a strat planning point of view, strategy and planning, so the big focus there is the 2 major amendments to the planning scheme that were adopted in September, including an increase in the supply of greenfield residential zone land by over 200 hectares, and incorporation of updated flood overlays. Just a shout out too for the Community and Parks team for delivering the junior state champions, the Queensland Touch Finals event at the start of July. It was really good to work together collaboratively to bring these events, to bring so many thousands of people here to our great region, and have an incredible economic impact. I'm open to any questions that the table has.
Thank you, Zach. Yeah, look, it's again team effort, and one there that really is starting to show the fruits of that work with what we're seeing in the local economy. It'd be great to capture the combined impacts throughout the year. I think that's another work we can do later offline to this report. But if you could just pass on the thanks to the team, I think it's really having a full events package, but promoting our region through the work the team do is really starting to see the excitement that's happening around town and people hearing, saying that there's so much activity, they've got so many different options. It's great to see. Thank you. Questions, councillors? Councillor Kirkland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and echoing our Mayor there, back to you, Zach, and the team. Congratulations on the fabulous work that you are producing, and the events and the standard of the events, and it absolutely is, definitely, as Mr. Mayor has already pointed out, flowing into the community. I have two questions. One is around the occupancy, the 84% hotel, motel occupancy, and I may have asked this question to you last quarter, and forgive me if I did, but it is around how much of that is homelessness content, how much of that is people who are trying to transition and cannot find affordable housing. I'm of the understanding that is a significant contribution to that 84%. Is that separated, or do you have an understanding or some commentary around that?
Thank you, Councillor Kirkland. Through the chair, our accommodation data, it doesn't say who the people are or why or where they're from. What we receive is occupancy, the average daily rate, and also another piece of data called RevPAR, which is revenue per available room. So I don't have any visibility on who the people are that's staying, unfortunately.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, if there is how we gauge whether it's visitors to the community or whether it's people who are in that affordable housing situation, is there any way that can be reported or not?
No, not really. I don't think that's... Zach?
I think through the chair, so when you stay at a hotel, you don't tell them why you're staying there, whether it's there for leisure or business or because you are homeless. So I don't think that number is able to be, looked at.
Quantified, yeah.
Okay. People, private information, councillor.
I just have one other question.
Yep.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just the breakdowns, it's great to see that unemployment tracking down, which is always a nice thing to see our community all in gainful employment, and that just improves the economy again. It flows back into the economy. So just wondering in future reporting whether there's an opportunity to break down the different communities within our region so we get better understanding of where those pockets that we might want to put special attention toward to continue. Like, as in, what I mean is Mount Morgan versus
We've got enough,
Rocky.
Yeah, I'd probably take that one offline, councillor. I'm just worried about the staff work and workload and what we're trying to achieve. We've got quite a heavy program now, and to split that and make it more onerous just for data capture, we need to be a budget one. Thank you. Yeah. Councillor Wickerson.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to probably share information that you and I know about an event coming up, and I know Advanced Rockhampton are all over it, but we put in through the CAP funding $10,000 towards the National Rodeo Championships. I think we did some meeting the other day, but just what the economic bonus to the region is, like 4,000 people. We've got some of the best rodeo riders bred right here that have been to America and back and did really well there. So not only is it a great event economically, but it also highlights our position as a beef capital and a whole lot of other things about our heritage. But the best thing that I got out of the conversation we had with people from APRA, which is the Australian Professional Radio Association, is that this is going to be in part live broadcast, but also fully recorded and then packaged up to go all across media outlets through the United States. So I don't know, through Zach's team there'll be plenty of branding. We did ask that on the day, will there be Rocky logos and flags and banners flying in the background when it does get broadcast to the world, basically? And they said yes, absolutely, so that's part of the negotiation. So just another way to put us on the map and really underscore our position as the beef capital as well as the rodeo capital now, apparently.
You're right, Councillor Wickerson. There's a few locals there that are really fighting hard for that recognition. These people in that space that really passionate about the sport and recognising how successful we are locally, and putting that on the world stage is a great opportunity. Councillor, I'm mindful of the time. I just need to do some media. Were there any further questions to Zach on his report? If not, we'll hand back to Damon. Thanks very much, Zach. Just pass that on to the team, all the work. We do really appreciate the team's undertaking there. Thanks, Damon.
Through the Chair, thank you. That concludes our summaries for this morning. As indicated at the start of the report, there are 2 recommendations for Council's consideration. 1, receiving the progress report, and 2, adoption of the proposed amendments there to the operational plan targets. Again, happy to take any further questions from the table.
Okay, thanks very much, Damon. I'm happy to move. Seek a seconder. Seconded Councillor Rutherford. Were there any questions to the recommendation? If not, I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. We'll invite Councillor Smith back in. I think we spoke previously with the CEO. I think we need to pull that water thing out so Councillor Smith's not stepping out of that whole report. So for the future, we'll make sure we look at that to exclude it or make a ruling on that. Didn't realise that was the way. Councillors, I do have some media I need to do. So can I call that we move that we take a recess for half an hour and come back to finish the council meeting? Seek a seconder. Councillor Fisher. I'll put that. Those in favour? Motion's carried unanimously. So I'll take leave of the meeting. We'll be back in half an hour, councillors. Thank you.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
Yep, thank you. I'll move that we resume the council meeting. Seek a seconder. Seconder, Councillor Fisher. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, councillors. Council, we dealt with item 11.6. We move on to item 12, notice of motions. 12.1. Councillors, I would like to move the recommendation and seek a seconder. Councillor Kirkland, that council requests an officer's report be prepared, presented to council at the earliest opportunity for a full waiver of the infrastructure charges for the Fitzroy Community Hospice in Agnes Street. Again, councillors, a letter was provided to myself asking for assistance to help with the funding and the establishment of this community project, and one I believe council needs to support in this manner. But the report will detail what the position is, saying that we've already come to the party with the 75% of the infrastructure charges as per the policy, but this is a worthy cause, and one that I believe a further report give due consideration for the full reimbursement for that one. Councillor Kirkland.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr Mayor, and just to disclose and in full clarity that I participated in a Hoist the Boss thing for the community hospice as a fundraiser. It's on my register of interest that I participated in that. Is that a conflict that
Potentially,
yeah, let's do that. Let's
I think
record that.
Councillor Mathers did you have a similar thing, Councillor Mathers, or a question?
No, Councillor Mathers wasn't in it.
We've lost your voice. Are you on mute?
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I just had a comment, if that's okay.
No, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now, yep.
Okay, so, Mr Mayor, I just had a comment, if that's all right.
We just might deal with this conflict of interest first, and then go to there.
Yeah, with declarable conflict of interest, and you can ask council whether or not you can stay or go, or stay for the discussion.
Okay,
So
we might
let's just put that on record, that it's a declarable interest due to the fact that I participated in a fundraiser for the community hospice as a Hoist Your Boss participant, and I put it to the table to decide whether I should leave the room as a result of participating in that fundraiser, similar to we participated in Relay for Life.
Okay, councillors, there's been a request from Councillor Kirkland with the conflict there, that she participated in a fundraising event for the community hospice, and which was Hoist Your Boss. Councillors, Councillor Kirkland, what was your position? Will you wish to remain at the meeting on this decision, or would you? What would you like?
Yeah, I'm putting it to the table. I'd like to stay in the meeting, but happy for the table to decide.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think that I supported the fundraiser, as I think it's a fabulous thing that they're doing. It may be that the table decide I need to leave the room. It's up to them.
Councillors, questions? Councillor Wickerson?
Oh, thanks, Mr Mayor. Through you, what was the nature of the fundraising? Did you participate in the event? I'm thinking about the Relay for Life. We withheld attracting any money for the relay, but we did participate in it. I'll tell you, from my information, I contacted the LGAQ for some advice as well about exactly with Relay for Life, and they're a bit slow getting back, and they're dealing with it. But just to get some clarity and formal clarity around, if we're doing a Relay for Life or even the hospice, can we collect funds, fundraise, and then pass it on to a third party? just so that we're sure. So if it comes up later and said, well, we got advice from LGAQ, so probably while we're waiting for that, I think it might be an idea to leave, just, I mean, it's so, but just to be better safe than sorry.
Okay, any other questions to Councillor Kirkland? Councillor Kirkland?
I'm happy to leave the room. If we've got one councillor who's not sure, I think that's all we need. You know, unless it's unanimous for me to stay, I wouldn't want to stay. I don't definitely...
Well, it's your call, Councillor. That's the decision if you wish to...
Yep. I'll deal with the conflict, declarable, is it declarable? Conflict of interest, and by leaving the room.
Okay.
So probably what triggers it, not just this one, that one as well, the Relay for Life, is that you're fundraising on behalf of somebody else. Effectively, you've got some type of affiliation with that group that you're picking them. So that then would create the conflict of interest in a declarable matter. The level of that fundraising, I think, is quite relevant as well. What is the amount of money that you have occurred as well comes into it, and that is definitely the grey area where it sits within that one. So if I would advise, one is that you do declare it, still leave it up for the council table to decide whether or not you to come or go, depending on the level, and knowing full well we're a bit of a grey area here at this point in time as well.
No, happy to leave the room. Let's do the right thing.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Kirkland. We'll do that.
Before you get a mover a second, Mayor, I might wait for Councillor. If you want to circulate that to the councillors to consider, you could just move that.
Councillors, I've received a letter from the Community Hospice, and rather than using staff resources to present another report, whether we take 5 minutes just to pass that around to the councillors so you could have a read and make a decision now, today, rather than having it come back. Councillor Rutherford?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, honestly, I was happy for it just to go to the vote.
Yeah.
No, well, sorry, where I was coming from, Councillor Rutherford, was that effectively just kicks it out into the officers' world. The officers are going to come back and basically say, your policy says 75%, we can't go outside of that because that's your policy position. Consequence of 75% or 100% is that council have to find we'll have to find that money no matter that, wherever. It's either going to be through the developer or through the ratepayers as a part of that. So effectively, you can resolve against your policy and say, we think this is a great cause, da 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 da. Yeah, I think Councillor Mathers.
Yep, Councillor Mathers. Sorry, I didn't come back to your question though.
Yeah. That's all right, Mr Mayor. I just want to make a comment. I just want to say, Mr Mayor, thanks so much for bringing this notice motion forward to the table. You know, I think it's a really good organisation, and what they're doing for the community is fantastic, and it's a service.
Just probably not getting into debate, Councillor. At the
no, so I'm not trying to debate. I just wanted to say thank you for bringing it forward.
For bringing it forward, okay. Right, well, we might, rather than trying to use up the resources with an officer's report, we might move I'll put a motion that that support the request from the letter from the Community Hospice.
Council support. Well, it'll probably be the project. I just want to work the words. It's hard to come back and leave. That council support the full waiver of the 100% of the infrastructure charges.
There was two parts.
Yeah.
There was the
and water infrastructure upgrades associated with the project.
Which would be a community service obligation. That was why the report was coming back. I probably would have rather the report, Evan, to...
The report wouldn't have changed the position of the officers, so this is where it's just got to be what... Yeah, so I was trying to get through.
I think it needs to.
If you give us a couple of minutes.
It needs some advice before you can vote on it as to how much.
Councillor, we'll just take a 5 minute to put the words around that, rather than just trying to avoid having to bring a report back that tells us the same information. So if we could take a 5-minute recess and then come back. I'll move that we take a 5-minute recess. Seek a seconder. Councillor Smith. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. We'll be back.
This I sing, everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine, everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine, everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine, everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine, everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine. Everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line. Ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine. Everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line. Ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming. I would not change a thing. Knew that we'd survive here and all the goodness we would bring. Of this I sing. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine, everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Carried. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, councillors. We've reworded that document so it's basically coming back to show support for the Fitzroy Community Hospice in Agnes Street project, that a report be presented to the next available council meeting to show council consideration for a 100% waiver of the infrastructure charges and the remaining balance of the new water connection fee. Council, I'm not sure you're all familiar with the project and what it means to the local community, so I'm happy to move and seek a seconder. Seconded Councillor Rutherford. Any questions? Put those in favour. Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We'll invite Councillor Kirkland back over. Yes, and Councillor Latcham leave the meeting. And no. We got there. Okay, councillors, we have another item, notice of motion there, 12.2, notice of motion to rescind Councillor Shane Latcham, Councillor Discretionary Fund for the Scout Association of Queensland, Sione Park. Councillors, Councillor Latcham realised after the motion was moved last that he did have a conflict there, so he's put this recommendation in to rescind that, so it takes him out of that process. And there's two separate motions there, so we'll deal with the first recommendation that Council resolved as per section 262 of the local government regulations to rescind the resolution arising from item 10.1 on the 10th of October 2023 at the Ordinary Council meeting. I'm happy to move. Seek a seconder. Councillor Smith. Any questions? If not, I'll put those in favour. Those opposed, motion's carried unanimously. So that's taken it off the books. Now we move to the new recommendation, and Councillor Latcham has removed himself for the conflict of interest. That the council approves the allocation of $1,000 from Councillor Latcham's discretionary fund for the Scout Association of Queensland, Sione Park Scouts, to campsite towards the purchasing of a defibrillator. Movers and seconders. Move Councillor Smith, seconded Councillor Wickerson. I'll put those in favour. Those opposed, motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. That brings us to our items. We have a business to be dealt with in closed session. We'll invite Councillor Latcham back to the room. Councillors, we have a item to be dealt with in closed session, a legal matters report from the 1st of July 2023 to 30th of September 2023. Urgent business. Councillor Rutherford, before we go into closed session.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I do have urgent business, and I apologise for, maybe not putting this in a notice of motion, but last Friday, Councillor Smith and I went out to Cabra to have a look at the, aftermath of the fires out there, and it's very scary, quite eye-opening. I think, but for the very hard work of the, you know, the fireys, both rural and urban fireys, and some good luck. We're very lucky that it just didn't, I guess, start to impact any of the homes. Mr. Mayor, of the people that we met there, the one key message that kept coming through to us was the state of the creek that runs through, and it's at the back of the houses at Cabra, and it started to get into that creek. Now, if it had have got away, it would have picked up a number of houses in its mouth, and there would have been no stopping it, because the dry grass is human height, you know, shoulder height from the bed all the way up to the banks and above. And you know, the fire breaks, this fire has jumped the road, it's jumped the sort of dirt patches either side of the road, so it's, you know, like the fire breaks didn't even stop it. So if it had have got in this creek, we were in all sorts of problems there. And I'm just wondering, through disaster management, I don't know how else to handle it, Mr. Mayor, whether there is some way through disaster management as disaster mitigation we can start to, and I know there's a number of creeks, but this one is specifically, it's right on the back door, it's very, very dry, and the kindling is just incredible, and I'm just wondering whether there's something we can do. There's been 3 fires in 4 days, I think.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Rutherford, the thing would be that it wouldn't be just isolated creeks. We'd have to look at all the creeks within the region if that was the case. And we did mention it when we had a disaster meeting with the new coordinator for the state. Is it Jack? I can't think of his name, but I did mention it when we was here. He asked what were some of the things that you were concerned with, and I mentioned that the creek, because we haven't had any flows for quite a while, that the vegetation in the creeks have increased, and I'm not sure, he didn't give me any comment on it, but it was one that I raised with him. If there was disaster funding available, how could we access that? So, Peter, your comments or thoughts around that one? It's a difficult one.
There is no disaster funding for council to do this, because it's not seen, as you rightly said, that they are aware of it, but there is no program for it at all. The only thing I can suggest is, the only thing I can suggest is that I get Martin and his team to have a look. I do have a meeting with Martin to discuss that fire tomorrow, and we just might talk about options and what we might be able to do. It's not a clear, easy answer, and you know the difficulties of going in and clearing vegetation anyway within a creek is also challenging.
I understand that, and I know this is something that we've discussed for a long time. I guess the thing is that we do backburns along Mount Archer and you know, up in Mount Morgan, and this is probably even more dangerous than those areas. You know, it really is, and it's dry. It's very dry. Like in town, at least you've got a little bit of moisture around, but that creek is dry as dry. Yeah,
a lot of the creeks are in the same position, Councillor. It's not just the rural areas, urban areas are just as dry. It is an issue, but I don't know whether we've got the resource or the funding to be able to challenge it.
No, it's not an easy answer. Let me talk to Martin, and we'll have a look at what options, and we'll give you an update next week.
Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Commend Councillor Rutherford for raising it, because it's actually a bigger issue. I've had quite a number of complaints in various areas in North Rockhampton as well. Okay, the Fire Brigade have got quite a lot of work along the lower ranges of the Burska Mountains, but the biggest worry, and where the residents in North Rockhampton have raised, is actually the build-up of weeds and inflammable weeds at that, like Lakina, in our waterways, where we have no jurisdiction. And that's the problem. it is a state jurisdiction, something there that seems to fall on deaf ears, but I definitely believe that it's worth raising it. I think it's got to be taken to the state government and saying, hey, you're responsible. It's time there that before something bad goes on, that the state actually comes to the party and works it, because ratepayers can't be continually made to pick up the work of the state government. This is their responsibility. Let's see that they sort of have a commitment. And waterways, I worry about Limestone Creek. I haven't had a complaint or something right there, but that's one of the worst in our community. Then we have, in my own division there, Frenchman's Creek, Moores Creek, Tosit Creek are all a real problem, and they are so infested with Leakina. And I know no one wants to talk about Leakina, but it is a plant that burns extremely hot, and we've got the waterways there just choked with it. So I think this is a really important thing. I commend Councillor Rutherford for raising it. I think it's got to go to the right people, and Mr. CEO, maybe you can give us direction, but we are sort of looking at a big problem.
I think I'd leave Peter do what he's going to do over there, to have a bit of a discussion around the file. I wouldn't mind taking the conversation after the council meeting with you, Councillor Rutherford, so I can actually see it on the map. I haven't had a chance to go out there because, in my understanding of Cabra, is there's some grey areas in relation to the reserves, around road reserves, and the unallocated state land around the creeks. I think there's a few that actually sort of are in and out, so I wouldn't mind actually having a bit of a look at it, because there might be some responsibility of us. So, generally speaking, councillors, we've got a road reserve that's fairly clear where it sits, and then, say for example, through Rockhampton, we'll have like Frenchman's Creek. It's fairly well defined that that's unallocated state land or state land, and it's sitting there. It's not blurred against road reserves. Whereas at Cabra, because the creek in sections runs parallel or diagonally through, that area sort of is merged. So I need to have a talk to you about, if you wouldn't mind.
No, I do appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'm just wondering whether, a letter to state government, or whether the time now from the Cabra fire is appropriate. We picked up some photos and some footage and through to the state government, and just let them know, because honestly, we were so lucky. I would think there's probably 7 homes would have gone very quickly if it had have gone just, another 20 metres. It would have just, picked up, because these properties are right on the creek boundaries.
Yeah. So where we deal with the land around the base of Mount Archer, we deal with our own land, council-owned land, so that's all managed by that. QPWS deal with the state land and their issues around that. Same with at Mount Morgan, we have a shared one up there, again, a bit like we do at Mount Archer, where it is with us and either Department of Mines or whoever that department is. It is the issue is where we come to this unallocated state land when there's no real trustee for that land. And as we've seen with Plenty Out Creeks within our urban precincts, it's effectively no man's land, that one. So I wouldn't mind taking it and we can have a look at it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. Councillor Smith, then Councillor Wickerson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And sometimes, just because we're not in charge of the creek, doesn't mean to say that we shouldn't be concerned. Only for the 16 fire brigades that were there and the helicopter doing water drops, it would have been a lot worse than what happened. And people and the communities looking to where it started, which was in a state government area. And, they're our community and they're hurting, and I was surprised myself at the extent of the fire. It kept jumping our roads, and they're quite wide there. They're quite well-built roads, Bingari Road and Cabra Road, and it kept jumping them the whole time. So, And we're in for a lot more of this, and a lot more of our communities are going to be impacted. And also, when we're talking about creeks that are chocked up with everything, and including Lakina, Gabriel Creek that flows into the Fitzroy in Rocky, it starts in Boulder Combe, and it's in the same mess as everything else as well.
Sure is, but they're not council control, council. That's the thing. We spent $1 million on the cleaning up after Marcia, and that was only dealing with 2 creeks, just to move some of the debris from the fallen trees and the like. But yeah, I'd hate to guess how much it'll cost to get into there, and have we got the resources to be able to do it? That's the other thing. And I'm not sure where the fire is going there. So I think that discussion with Peter and Martin will give us some options on it. But I did raise it when the disaster coordinators were here. One of the things that I was concerned about was the vegetation growth in our waterways, considering we have had a long dry period without consistent rain flushing those creeks. So, yeah. Councillor Wickerson, then Councillor Fisher.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'm just wondering whether the ultimate outcome of it is, once Peter and Marty chat about what's involved with, and we get the tenure sorted out, whether we don't maybe put it back even through LDMG and talk to our QFIS colleagues there and put a joint project together, because I think, isn't it, it's either federal or state funding, Peter, you might know, $200 million for disaster mitigation, a pool of money's in there, might be Fed money, I think, but they won't want to have a letter saying, oh, we've got a problem. They want to know what our solution is, and we can't do that on our own because just jurisdiction over the creeks, but to work with state services, whether it's QFIS or environment protection people as a collective, and put a joint project in with to attract the required money, whether it's going to $4 or $5 million could be huge, I imagine.
That program is specifically aimed at not maintenance. This would be deemed like a maintenance activity. So I think it will struggle unless you can say, you make this a resilient outcome.
Yeah, you have to think.
And fundamentally, the responsibility for the fire risk in the region is QFIS. And they have prepared what they need to do. The LDMG just gets a report and has to check that they're doing their job.
Okay, we can't drive from
Investigating or reviewing fire, that's what our business.
Yeah.
So it's just a report. They tell us what they're up to, what they're doing.
And like I said, I highlighted it when we had that briefing. So yeah, I'm not sure what the outcome of that was, but we can follow that up and see where that's gone.
Mr Mayor,
Councillor
I've got 30 seconds of footage if you'd like me to put it up.
Oh.
If you,
I'd be guided by the council. I mean, if they wanted to see it, not sure. Councillors, did you want to watch? We can see that, share that at lunch anyway, Councillor. That's okay. Councillor Fisher.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I've got a question and a couple of comments. Firstly, is this waterway there, the main infestation is Lakina?
Is that Gabriel
The
Creek?
infestation of where this site is, was this dominant?
Oh, everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything's grown in there.
And probably the comment is, should we be going also to the federal government and saying, well, the money that is allocated for the Great Barrier Reef protection, shouldn't there be part of that money allocated for the cleaning up of our waterways? Because the ultimate goal in protecting the Barrier Reef is the sediment runoff. Our waterways in the Rockhampton region alone, if that Lakina is burnt or removed, there is no vegetation holding those creek banks. And the next rain event is just pushing all of that out onto the reef. They've addressed the end game without addressing part of the problem. Is that something that we lobby as well?
Look, I think even with the hymenacne that's in the river, it's an introduced pest, and then you start to look at a further one with Lakina, and we've been trying to seek funding to do hymenacne for decades now and haven't achieved anything. And there you've got other pest species that have been introduced that I'm not sure whether that's the way to tackle it. You get any any further than what we've been trying to do for the last couple of decades. I'm not sure, councillor. That's all. Anyway, I think we'll get this focus on the disaster side of it and get some feedback on that and see if that's if we can get some outcomes from that. Take it further. I'm just not sure. Councillor, I haven't got an answer on any of it. So thank you, councillor, for bringing that up. Councillor Rutherford, we do have an item to be dealt with if there are no further questions on that, to be dealt with in closed session. And that to deal with the legal matters report from the 1st of July to the 30th of September, that the meeting be closed to the public to discuss the following items, which are considered confidential in accordance with section 2543J, Local Government Regs 2012 for the reasons indicated. I'm happy to move. Seek a seconder. Seconded, Councillor Copeland. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. And that pursuant of S512, council meeting procedures, that the meeting now moves into closed session and be closed to the public. I'm happy to move. Seek and seconder, Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried. We'll move into closed session.
Front line, ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming in sunshine. Everybody feeling fine. Everybody join the front line. Ain't nobody left behind. Everybody swimming.
Taking the good with the ups and downs. I wanna see how the world turns round. Let's go adventure in the deep blue sea. Home is with you wherever that may be. Home is with you wherever that may be.
Thank you. Councillors, and I'd seek a mover and a seconder for that the officer's recommendation that the legal matters report containing the updates on legal matters of Rockhampton Regional Council 30th of September be received. Councillor Fisher, seconded Councillor Wickerson. I'll put that. Those in favour? Those opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Councillors, that brings us to the end of our agenda items for today's meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for your participation and the officers for their reports and close the meeting. Thank you.
Now that we've arrived here, I would not change a thing. Knew that